Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? How are you? Thank you for joining us today on the Get Inspired series with Joyce Janaku. Hope you had a great day. I'm so excited about the show today, and I can't wait for you to actually meet our guests. As this is the season of Thanksgiving, I pray that the show actually will be an answered prayer for you, just what you've been waiting for. I pray, as we discuss real estate investing today, that it will answer some questions that you have. And like I always say, grab your coffee, grab your pen, your juice, your paper, because I believe you want to take notes for this. I know I say that all the time, but it's true because my guests, honestly, I know will be a blessing to you. So I'm going to try to read a bio before I bring her on. Cheryl Abrams Davis is a native of Washingtonia with a degree in business from Trinity University, Washington, D.C. Her education and 15 years background in human resource management prepared her to become a seasoned, well-rounded, multifaceted residential real estate professional. She's a partner and a manager with Remax United Real Estate and is charged by a strong work ethics, critical thinking, efficient system, and planning for the implementation and successful execution of projects and transactions. She's adept in multiple facets of real estate, such as contract matters, negotiation, market research and analysis, trends, understanding human capital, and training. Mrs. Abrams Davis has maintained a position as a top producer in our marketplace for quite a few years. You see, she has several real estate designation to include GRI and GRS and has helped thousands of buyers, sellers, landlords, tenants with real estate transaction for the past 20 years. The past 20 years. Um, a past and present dedication and service to the real estate industry through volunteerism or on committees and boards of directors, local, state, and national real estate association and community serves through the Children's Network or Miracle Network, that is, and Salvation Army Angel Program has shown that she has a heart to serve. She has a heart to serve. And I can't wait for you to meet her. So please help me welcome my very special guest today. Very, very special guest today, Mrs. Cheryl Abrams Davis.
Hello, everybody. Get ready, get ready. We are going to talk about some real estate today, and I'm ready.
Yes, thank you so much. I was trying to read your bio. I'm gonna have you, I know I can't really do justice to it. I would like, even before your bio, honestly, you're just an amazing person. I'm so happy
Thank
to actually
you.
have you on the show. How was your day? How's your day? How are you doing today?
You know what? Every day that I wake up is a beautiful day. I mean,
Mhm.
every day is not going to be perfect, but it was perfectly made for me, and I'm going to do the best with what I have. So I just want to make a couple of updates based on what you read. So I've sold hundreds and hundreds of houses, not thousands. So I just
100.
wanted to
He's
clear
speaking
that up.
prophetically, like it will
It,
be thousands.
it feels like thousands, but it's been hundreds. And then I wanted to
Okay.
thank you so much for inviting me into your platform today. I know that you had many, many choices. So it means a lot to me that you asked me to be here today. And so I am ready to share any information with you and your viewers today.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much. I read your bio. I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add. I have to say first though, congratulations on your, 5 star. You are like 5 star winner, like 6 years in a row.
Thank
Like
you.
that's great. I have to say that. You are
Thank
you're
you.
just
And you know
I say
what? It means a lot because they actually do research and they actually
Mhm.
check in with a lot of the customers that I've serviced over the years. And 5 star means that really we give 5 star service. So it's not a production type award. It's really about, the kind of agent that you are and the service that you provide. And just to add in there, I was the number one agent in Prince George's County for 2022 for client reviews for Prince George's County. And that's huge because there are, thousands of real estate agents in our county. And to have that many of my customers provide the 5-star reviews for Rate My Agent, to put me in that place really means a lot to me. I really care about people and their journey and helping them sell and buy homes. And they in turn really stepped up to the plate and provided those online reviews. And online reviews are really important. I mean, I have over 150 5-star online reviews, and that means a lot.
Yes, yes. I tell people, I'm like, Cheryl is the best in PG County. Like, you can't tell me nothing.
Well, let's put it that way.
So yes, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you're very busy, so I do appreciate you accepting to want to grace our studio today. So thank you so much.
Never too busy for you, Joyce.
Oh, thank you so much. I think we've known each other for over 12 years or so. And since I've known you, it's always the real estate. So when we talk in my home, when we say Cheryl, Miss Cheryl, even to the kids, they know real estate. How did you know that you want to get into the real estate? How did you decide on this path?
Well, to be totally honest with you, I always had a love for real estate. I mean, back in the day, like in the 90s, I used to drive around to different neighborhoods and just really check out the architecture and homes and wonder like who lives in these neighborhoods and how do they get to live in these big houses, and wow, this community is beautiful. But I was working a corporate job, during that time, and I had purchased like my second house around that time. And what happened was around 9/11, my boss came to me and he said, we really don't know what this means for us. 9/11 happened. We don't know what this is going to mean for, the next year. So we're going to give you a 2% cap on your raise for the next year. And I said, do you mean me or you mean the people that I supervise? And he said, no, everybody's going to get a 2% raise across the board. And at that moment, I said to myself, you know what? I'm worth more than 2%. Like, who can live off of 2%? The cost of living goes up 3% annually, and as an average back then at that time. And I just felt that it was kind of a slap in the face, because at that point, it really wasn't about your performance. It was really about the company's bottom line. And I just felt at that time, I said, you know what? It's time for me to change my future and be in charge of how much money I make and what my annual increase is going to be. So I literally picked up the phone as soon as he left my office. I signed up for real estate school that same day, and I never looked back from that day. I took the class. I passed my real estate exam on the first go round. It took me about 6 months to actually sell my first house, but once I got out the gate, there was no turning back after that. By year 4, I quit that then 6-figure job with 401k benefits, with health insurance. My whole family thought I was absolutely nuts, crazy. How could you leave a good job to go over here to a maybe? And this was in 2006, 2 years before we had the biggest crash in real estate. Everybody thought I was absolutely insane. I quit my job. I went in there happy with a smile on my face and said, it's been a pleasure. Boom. Here's my letter. My boss said, I think you just had a bad week. I'm going to hold your letter for 24 hours and let you think about it.
I guess you change your mind.
And then tell me how you feel the next day. When I came in the office with this smile on my face, he's like, you're out of here, aren't you? I said, yeah. I already know what this is about. I've been doing this for 15 years. I said, it's something better for me over here, and I know in my gut. So I'm not advising that anybody just like go quit their job immediately. Like, I was in year 4, and only you can, or the person can decide, like, if they go into real estate initially, when that time is for them to leave their job. And for some people, it might not make sense. Like, if you've been on a government job or a job for a significant amount of time where you're entitled to some kind of pension, then that might not be the route for you. But for me personally, I didn't really care about any of that. At the end of the day, my gut said, I need you to go over here because there's something better for you. And 20 years later, 20 years later. I mean, when I look back and I'm like, wow, it's been 20 years. That's crazy, right? I don't think I've ever did anything for 20 years except for breathe and pay taxes, right?
Mhm.
But to make a long story short, um, when your gut is so clear about a vision, about you doing something, you just have to follow it. You might not have all the answers. You might not know what's around that corner. But I also want to say this. I saved up a year's worth of my salary before I quit my job because I knew I was going to quit. I knew I was going to leave. So I didn't just leave. I didn't just quit. I'm a planner and I'm always calculating about what I do before I do it. So you shouldn't just quit your job. You should make sure you have this nest egg over here because you don't know what's around the corner. So always make sure you have a plan B in case, things do get a little tight. And it wasn't
Yes.
always easy, but I will say this, I would do it all over again.
Mm. Mm, mm, mm.
All over again.
See, yeah, yeah. It's and you said a few things there, and then also encourage people. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't even know what to do now, but then preparation is one of the things that you mentioned there, and I think that's critical too as well, especially
And
when
the
you know
last
what. Mm-hmm. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, and the last thing I was gonna add is that I would have gone into real estate sooner, but what
Mm,
happened was I let people get into my head and they're like, well, why would you want to go into real estate? I mean, literally, I just don't ever listen to anybody. I mean, I
mm,
really feel like the time that I got in was supposed to be that time that I got in. But before then, a couple of years before that, I had always wanted to do real estate. And when I told people that, they just had negative things to say about it. So you
mm.
can't always share your vision with people.
Ooh,
You should
mm,
keep it to yourself.
mm,
Don't always share that vision because they can't see your destiny like you can see your destiny.
mm, mm, mm.
So don't let other people get in your head and try to stop you or talk you out of where you know you should be going.
Yes,
That's
yes,
one
yes.
nugget I want to drop because it's
Mm-hmm.
funny. Those same people who said don't go into real estate are the same people today saying, "Wow, Cheryl, I'm just like amazed at how much you've done in real estate. Like it just didn't work out for me that way, but obviously it's where you're supposed to be."
Wow, wow.
I'm still in
That's
contact with those two people who told me not
mm.
to go into real estate.
Wow, wow. So it's like show them how far God has taken you. Show them how far the step has been, like from the beginning till now. They could actually see how, each journey, I guess the phase of how you've traveled, they've seen your work. So that making that decision then to them, it's now worth it. It seemed like
Exactly.
crazy then, but then your success and how you're doing in the industry has kind of, showed how far God has been with you. Not only that, but then how much you've grown and successful at what you're doing.
But I always knew that this is where I was supposed to be. Like I
Mm.
never, like when I made that switch, I never wavered. I mean, I knew 100% that I was just supposed to go that way, period, regardless of what anybody else said.
Yeah.
When you know, you know.
When you know. Yes,
When
yes,
you know, you gotta
absolutely.
go. When you know, you gotta go. Stop talking
When
about it and be
you
about it.
you gotta go. I was so just moving just towards maybe getting into like the core of our conversation as well is you sent me the interview you did with Channel 9, and thank you for that. And I think I've seen a few of it online, like a little I guess video was circulating on Facebook that I saw before you sent that to me. But with the interest rate so high right now, how can first time buyers still manage to buy a home?
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. First of all, the interest rate right now is not so high. It just depends on your perspective. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when I bought my second home, I don't remember what my interest rate was on the first home I bought when I was 27 years old, but the second home I probably purchased somewhere around 29 or 30. And that interest rate was like 7.5%. And it was actually a first and a second. So the first interest rate was 7.5, and the second one was probably like 8.5 or 9. It was something weird. And that was pretty much the normal. And before then, there have been interest rates as high as 18%, in our parents' time frame, even though houses were cheaper. I mean, 18% is 18% on,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of whatever that number is. What we've seen for the last few years is an anomaly. Like we've never seen rates go as low historically down to the 2 and 3% mark. I mean,
Mm.
we never saw that before it actually happened in the last few years. That was an anomaly. What we're seeing now is a market correction where pretty much this is kind of like the normal market. And actually, market rates did peak up to about 7% a couple of weeks ago. And since then, they are coming down, right? I actually saw an interest rate today that was actually in the high fives, which is still not bad. When I bought the house that I live in now, 15 years ago, I think the rates were like in the fives.
Mm.
That's 15 years ago. So that was kind of like a normal market.
Mm.
So I think that there's a lot of noise
Yeah.
from media because they, want to get an award for their story and they just want to feel like they have a spin on the market. But honestly, talk to a lender or a real estate agent. Don't let the news talk you out of your dream because there's opportunity in every single market. And
Mm.
so to answer your question, there are still tons of first-time home buyer programs and home buyer programs, period,
Mm.
that will provide down payment assistance to buyers and sellers because their houses are staying on the market a little bit longer. In some cases, for some of those houses, sellers are offering to pay a buyer's or money towards a buyer's closing costs, which
Mhm.
will also help. So the answer to your question is some sellers are providing the buyer with closing cost assistance. The
Mhm.
state of Maryland has what is called the Maryland Mortgage Program, where the buyer can borrow up to 4 to 5%
Mm.
to cover down payment and closing cost assistance. There are some lenders who actually have in-house programs where they have grants available. And when I
Mm.
say grant, that means you don't have to pay it back.
Mm.
They have grants available for buyers
Mm.
in increments from as little as 7,500. And there's one particular lender that actually has a combination of two grants that total 17,500.
Wow. Okay.
So you just have to make sure that you connect with a real estate professional and a lender who are savvy about this market. So
Mm.
everybody's position is different. Like some people will need the money, some people may not. It's really important that you connect with someone in the
Mhm.
industry who really understands the nuances of what's boots on the ground, like what's going on out here in the market. By the time the news gets a hold of really what's going on in the market, there could be
Yeah.
still another shift going on that just hasn't quite gotten to the public yet. So go
Yeah.
to trusted resources like your real estate agent, um, the state of Maryland, Maryland Realtors has information on their website about what's going on in the market. Local realtor associations has that information on their website.
Mm.
Different multiple listing services have information on their website. So just check in with anybody in real estate. Do not,
Yeah.
I know your family loves you and they trying to help
Mhm.
you figure it
Mhm.
all out. And they're always talking about, well, when I bought a house, you know, you know how it goes. And then all of a sudden, everything just kind of goes left because they were in a whole different market. So the market
Yeah.
that we have, no one, it's a whole new market. Like we've never been in this space before where we still don't
Mhm.
have enough houses, but the interest rate went up. But
Yeah.
the good thing about the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area is that because the government is here and because we have military and we have a lot of big corporations, we don't see as much of a hit as some other areas in the country. And I'm just
Mhm.
saying that because there are some houses that are flying off the market. There are still some situations where there are multiple offers. So you can't believe everything that you're reading and hearing in the news. It's just a generalization. It's
Mhm.
not necessarily an accurate depiction of the market
Mhm.
in the area that you may be seeking.
Yes. Yes. And thank you for explaining that because that would definitely help a lot of people. Um, so
And
can you please, also So explain. So for someone who's trying to get into, real estate, there's so many
Mhm.
aspects of it. I can. I'm sure the spectrum is pretty long, and there's so many things you could do. So I was looking online just preparing for this, and I understand there are like seven major types of real estate. So there's residential office and industrial warehouse, hospitality, retail, and agricultural culture. Can you maybe explain those a little bit, for someone who's trying to maybe venture into real estate, not sure which one exactly to go into?
Sure. So I'm going to make it really easy for you. So in the real estate world, from the realtor perspective, we kind of fit into two buckets. You're either a residential real estate person or you're a commercial
Mm.
real estate
Okay.
salesperson. Most people who do commercial pretty much stick in the commercial bucket, and most people in residential pretty much stick in the residential bucket. And there are some people who operate on both sides to a degree, but
Mhm.
usually there's one side that outweighs the other. So, specifically, of course, a residential realtor handles primarily properties where someone's going to either live in it or be an investor. And then,
Mhm.
for the most part, the commercial side handles anything dealing with a business or manufacturing or construction. So,
Mhm.
on the commercial side, someone who has a business and wants to open up a storefront, or
Mhm.
someone who wants to operate a farm as a business, not as a residence. So
Mhm.
I'm not going to go, I didn't want to go specifically into each category because typically from our side, if someone is looking for one of those properties, they're either going to get a realtor who handles residential if they want to live in a
Mhm.
property or buy it as an investment, or they're going to get a commercial realtor to help them find a place for their business.
Got it.
Does that
Okay.
help you out? I know I didn't go into the
It did. It
specifics
definitely
about
did. It
those
did.
7 buckets, but for the
It did.
most part, most of those fall into the bucket of commercial because it's a
Mhm.
whole different animal. And I want to say that we don't just handle listings and purchases. Realtors also handle rental listings and
Mhm.
assist tenants to
Mhm.
find rentals. So even if it's a situation where someone doesn't want to buy a property for their business, they can rent space for their business through a realtor who handles commercial real estate because
Mhm.
they're technically two different animals. And there's not
Yes.
enough time on your podcast to go into each. And one day maybe we can, have a session where we have a commercial realtor on here and a residential and we can kind of pick it apart a little further.
Yes, yes, and thank you for explaining that. I mean, that's pretty much it. That kind of covers everything. Thank you for doing that.
Because in
Um,
our area, we actually have all of those. We have all of those. I don't know if you know, we have so many farms, like in Prince George's County. We have some agricultural properties in Prince George's County in the southern part and the northern part.
mhm.
And there are tons of commercial properties all over the county. So
Yes, yes.
we pretty much
Interesting.
handle all those buckets.
Yes, yes. Hint, hint for people. You hear that? You hear?
But what I want to say is make sure you get the right real estate professional for each thing. Just because a person says that they're a real estate agent or they're a realtor, you want to make sure that what you're looking for aligns with that person. For example, if somebody wants me to sell a house, you know, across the Bay Bridge, you
Mhm.
know, I might not be that person because that's like a water community or Ocean City. Okay.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm not going to go to Ocean City, but I'm going to connect the person with the right agent in that area who can assist them the best. People call me all the time and they say, "Oh, can you help me find a commercial building?" I'm like, "No." However, we have a
Mhm.
person available that I refer to the commercial agent.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. That's good to know. With like real estate investing, do you
Mhm.
mind maybe just touching a little bit about it, like the
Sure.
difference between real estate investing, equity, and the rest of it?
So look, that can actually be a whole session again
I'm sure.
itself because it's very deep. So real estate is like an onion, I tell people. It's like you pull back one layer and then by the time you get to the fifth layers, you don't even realize that you just scratching the surface. There are like another, 25 layers before you get to the middle of the onion. And I say that because the more you learn, the more you hear about, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know that that was a part of real estate. So when it comes to investing, most people start small and they will say, oh, I want to flip a house, right? And so what that means is that they want to buy a property at a low price, invest money to fix it up, then sell it, and then move on to the next asset. I believe that that is one of the biggest ways that people can start getting into investing. Then there's something called wholesaling that some people get into, where some people buy properties below market, and then they they wholesale the contract to another person for a specified amount of money, and then they just keep doing that over and over and over again. Then there are some investors who actually buy a property and hold it and rent it out for a number of years. And then they sell it when it gets to a number that makes sense for them to get their money back and some. And then there's some people who actually buy the real estate, hold it, pay it off, and then they rent it out. And then once they subtract the taxes from that amount and any upkeep, the rest of the money is theirs. It's just income. And that's how a lot of people actually um, retire off of that. They bought the property in their 20s and they just replicated it, every other year. Next thing you know, 15 years later, they're paid off. If each property rents for an average of $2,000 a month, and you have 5, that's $10,000 coming in a month while you're sleeping. You subtract the taxes and upkeep, and the rest is net profit. Then you have this thing called real estate investment trust, where it's kind of like crowdfunding. So some people are crowdfunding and purchasing into these real estate investment trusts, where they have like a percent, like their trustee is in part of that deal. Some hotels are doing that. There are some apartment complexes that are doing that, and companies available. You can do your research online, but it's a big thing. Some of them guarantee a certain amount of return every year for your money. Sometimes they end up selling the asset later, and then you get your money back, and then you replicate that all over again. So there are many different vehicles that can be used for a person to get into investing. But remember, when you invest, that means that you're taking a risk, right? You're taking a risk. So just make sure that you do your homework first to understand what the risk level is. Because some people don't like to take risk at all. Some people, don't mind high risk, and some people are in the middle. So it depends on where you are and what your big why is. So you have to understand, like, don't just get into investing for investing. You have to have a why. Why do you want to invest? Is it because you don't want to work and you want all this passive income money to come in, or you want to get money to pay for your children's college? Just figure out what your big why is, and then you can figure out which investment vehicle to take, because you could potentially take the wrong one if you don't understand the why, and maybe your money is not coming quick enough for you because you didn't do your homework before you figured out which way to go. I mean, I meet people a lot of times and they say, oh, I bought an investment property. And I'm like, well, how much are you making off of it? And like, oh, nothing. It's just enough to pay the mortgage and the, HOA. And I'm like, okay, so what's your purpose? What's your why? They never really thought that much further into it. They were just so focused on saying, I have an investment property, I'm an investor, than understanding the business of being an investor.
Wow. Understanding the business.
Okay. So, and you got to make sure you can absorb the risk if something goes wrong. You got to also make sure you have a cushion just in case you need it, depending upon which asset you decide to purchase. If you decide to purchase a house to flip, make sure you understand all the costs involved in that flip. I mean, all down to the penny. Because if you make one wrong calculation, it could be really bad. And what if you bought the house at a time when the market was booming, and then by the time they finished fixing the asset, the market flattened? And you thought you were going to get one price for it, but now the price is different. And the market can work the other way too, where you buy it and you have a really good payday because the market went the other way. So you just have to make sure you connect with a real estate professional who really is going to provide you with the data to help you understand which way to go. And it's not a quick process. And surround yourself. I mean, there are lots of platforms available for people to participate in to really understand it. There are a lot of meetup groups. I don't participate in any of those because I've just been doing it for so long. I pretty much understand it. But there are a lot of meetup groups where people meet and then they know about, things coming up. And sometimes they crowdsource together to buy things. Just make sure you're careful. You have someone to review documents. And don't ever do anything without consulting someone in the business who has done it, who understands it, not just someone who says, I'm a realtor, I can help you. You need to make sure you understand and have the realtor who actually understands investing. Because if someone only does residential and they don't do the investment side, they may not be able to give you all the information that you need to make an informed decision.
Yes. You have covered even a lot. Most of the question that I have, you have touched on each and every one of them. So do I need a whole lot to get started? So I want to get into real estate, and I have this little money maybe set aside, and I'm not sure. I'm actually maybe I don't know, a medical professional, and I'm trying to get into real estate. I'm interested. I've done my research. So how much do I really need to start?
I answer this question all the time. And what I tell agents that come to our office who want to affiliate, it's going to cost you about $2,000. $2,000 to get started. Now, think about this though. Any business that you start up, you're going to need startup funds, whether it's real estate, whether it's selling makeup, whether it's selling hair, whether it's whatever you do for a business, you're going to need an investment. And the reason I say $2,000 is because one, you're going to have to sign up and take a real estate class, right? That can be anywhere from $300 to $500 just for class and books, right? Then you're going to have to take your test, and they charge you a fee to take your real estate test for every state, right? And then once you do that and you pass your test, then you're going to go find a broker to affiliate with. And sometimes they have maybe a one-time affiliation fee. And I don't want to give you any numbers because it just varies between brokers. Then you have to join your local, state, and national real estate association. And those vary per state and per county. But I'm just going to say, for the sake of putting a number to it, let's just say an annual fee for that association could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000, depending upon where you're located.
Yeah.
Then you need to get something called errors and omissions insurance, because we have to be insured. So that insurance can be anywhere from $300 to $500. And then you have to get business cards, signs, lock boxes. It is your business.
Yes.
And it's your business. So you can have the business under your name. You can create an LLC and have the business under your LLC. But the bottom line is you have to provide those things unless you start out maybe with a team, and maybe the team will provide some of the ancillary items like the lock boxes and the business cards, but you still have to join the associations and you have to pay for forms and things of that nature. So it can be anywhere from, it can be up to $2,000 as an initial out of pocket expense for all of that. I know,
Mhm.
look at your face. Like, I don't even think.
I'm like, really interesting. But then, people sometimes, and the reason why I ask that question is sometimes we think we have to have this huge amount of money to actually make that move
And
and
it's
do
not
what.
all at one time. So you don't need the whole 2000 at one time. It's just realistically from the time that you actually start your journey to the time you actually connect with a broker,
Mhm.
there are definitely some fees that need to be part
Yeah.
of it. And it may be a little bit cheaper depending upon when you come into the association. That
Mhm.
may cut your fee in half because you come in the middle of the year instead of the beginning. So, and sometimes your team leaders, sometimes people get sponsors to help them with those fees. So everybody's situation is different, but it could cost up to $2,000.
Interesting. So are there governments, like government funds available for investors?
Okay, so I am not aware of any government funds for investors. Now, what I just said is that it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Okay, but I'm not aware of any. I know that
Okay.
there are when you say government funds, can you be a little bit more specific? From what
Um,
government?
so in
Like,
terms of maybe flipping, like you're trying to maybe flip a home, is there some type of assistance that you may receive from the government as someone, maybe a small business or small
okay,
owned business, those type of things. Either you mentioned grants when we started
yes,
our
that's for
conversation.
residential.
Mhm.
That's for residential for an owner occupied property.
Mm,
Now, when you go over to the SBA side of things for people who are buying properties for investments as a
mhm,
business entity, then that's a whole nother animal. And
mm,
then there are business loans available where potentially those funds can be used towards the purchase
mm.
when they
Yes,
get the business loan for their business to
right,
start.
right. And I know you're
Are you
yours.
following me with that?
Yes,
So that's more
specifically
like,
you're saying business. You're saying business, small business. You are emphasizing that. So that would be specifically for businesses, small
right. But like
business.
I said, because we're in a fluid landscape with, um, I'm going to say, vehicles for financing right now because there are products that are coming online. So let me tell you what happens. So the real estate market expands and contracts all the time, all the time. One day it's up, one day it's down, one day it's in the middle. It's just like your stock. It's just like your 401k, right?
Mhm,
Up and
mhm.
down and up and down. I mean, we just went on a roller coaster ride for the last 3 years, right? Don't look at your statement yet, quite yet. But so the real estate market does the same, right? It expands and
Mhm.
contracts, so it puts things out there available to people, and then sometimes it takes it back, but it always replaces it with another vehicle. So that's why I wanted to say that there are always new opportunities coming online, from different vendors. So I never want to say never. So there may be a product available, and I'm
Mm.
sure if you do a Google search, you can probably find it. But I'm just not aware of any government funds that could be
Yes,
used for
yes.
investment.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Um, let's see. So just because I'm looking at the time now too, as I know you're very busy. I
Good
wanted to
for
maybe
you.
talk. I wanted to talk a little bit about um, just like tenants and residential,
Mhm.
or residential, I guess residential real estate, just a little bit,
Sure.
if you don't mind, maybe talking about, when you have property and you have or we have a tenant in it. How do you manage dealing with or navigate dealing with difficult tenants, for rental properties as landlords? So I know maybe
Okay.
from experience, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's just start at the beginning. So first of all, you really need to make sure you do your homework at the very beginning, because the more homework you do at the beginning of the process when they are applying for the property, making sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's, that is really going to help that you rarely end up in a situation where you have those situations.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is when people make application, make sure that you have some standard guidelines that need to be met. For the
Mm,
person you pick. For example, you need to, have a minimum credit score, a minimum number of years on their job, a minimum um, number of years for them living in a place where you can actually verify their rental history.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then we use systems where we can check to see if that person has gotten, evicted in the past. So if you have all of those in place, it really helps to make sure that you didn't miss anything. Because typically, if a person has a good credit score and they've been on their job for a while, and they have a good rental history, then typically, it ends up being a good situation. But I mean, I have had two situations. I've been a landlord for probably, I would say, about 17 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Mm,
so I have had maybe two bad apples in that time. One person lost their job
mm,
in the middle of the tenancy. And, at the end of the day, they had to move. And it took a minute to get them out because, sometimes you want to have grace. But the bottom line is this: if a person doesn't pay on that date, then you need to, take a stand and you need to do what you need to do to start that
mm,
process for getting that person out of the property. The biggest mistake that I see landlords make is that the person calls, they have this story, you want to feel bad for them and you give them grace, and next thing you know, it's 90 days later, you still don't have your money. I see it happen all the time. That was definitely not my case. But what I'm saying is on day number 6, if you don't have your money and it says in the lease that they need to pay by the 5th day and they don't pay on day number 6, you need to push that button and go ahead and file the paperwork with the local facility to start a process.
mm,
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have grace on people because everybody has a different situation and only you can decide what's going to work best for your situation. But I mean,
mm,
I did have a case where um, a person who was fully checked out, and they actually sublet a place that they weren't supposed to sublet
mm,
to some characters who weren't above board. And so in
mm,
that case, we were able to take them to we had to take them to court
mm.
and have them evicted. And
Yes.
so you just pack your patience and you do everything according to the law. And if you don't know
Yes.
what that is, just make sure you get a good landlord tenant attorney. But more importantly, make sure you have your rental license. Make sure you
Yes.
have your rental license
Mm-hmm.
to rent. Do not go around that. Do not forget to re-up it. Make sure
Mm-hmm.
you have that because these tenants know how to get around. You know,
Yes.
they know how to get around some of the things that are in place. So you make sure you have your rental license before you put anybody in that house.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. All
That's the
right. Yeah.
one takeaway that I want you to have. Make sure you have it before they go in
That's
because it could be a bad day if something goes
mm,
wrong.
yes. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. So just looking at the time where we are, maybe gradually moving towards the end now. So you did say real estate. So real estate, is it viable investment at this time, with the current state of the economy? I'm not specifically
Absolutely.
interested. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is a silver lining in every market. Think about it this
Yes.
way: the reason why people move will never change in
Mm,
any market. Think about this. There will always be first-time home buyers. There will always be people passing away. There will always be people getting married. There will always be people getting divorced. There will always be people who can't afford their house. And there will always be people who want to move up or want to move down or aging out of their homes.
yeah.
So as long as we have all of those reasons,
Yes, ma'am.
it will always be a good time to buy and sell real estate.
Simplified. You basically just yes, yes, yes. So thank you for that. Because sometimes you get scared. We're like, oh my goodness, I don't know what the situation. But then that's
Because
absolutely true.
people are listening to the noise instead of listening to their heart and looking at their situation. At the end of the day, most people in this country got rich off of real estate. You think they were just sitting around waiting to buy real estate?
Yes.
No. Real estate has always been a top performer for
Yeah.
wealth.
But then
Always.
you did talk about, sure though, you talked about risk taking. And
Mhm.
then for some that had maybe a few bad deals in the past, like what would be your advice? Would your advice to those type of people who've had maybe
Okay.
bad deals, real estate deals, and
So
investments?
first of all, every person who's an investor, if they're a regular investor and they're investing regularly, there we go. They
Mhm.
had a bad deal at some point. Every one of their deals is not always the best deal. Okay. So the bottom line is you have to go back and reassess what went wrong. Why did my bad deal go wrong? What did I forget? What did I leave out? How did this happen to me? And once you reassess what went wrong and once you understand what your big why is for
Mhm.
investing and you put it all together, and then you surround yourself with people in those circles who have been very successful, pick their brain, get information from them about why they're successful. Just follow the successful people. And I'm not talking about the people who are on Facebook trying to make it look like they're successful, but they're not successful yet. Like people who actually have receipts to show you that they did it and they know how to do it and they're willing to share. I mean, genuine people who are willing to share their information with you. I mean, I sat down with this gentleman one time and he's a millionaire, right? In real estate. Like he just made his money from investments. And he sat down and he gave me the blueprint and he said, okay, this is how you make it happen to have $1 million in net worth. And he sat there and showed it to me. He didn't have to show it to me. He could have just said, oh, go figure it out for yourself. But make sure you're in a room with the right people,
Mm.
not who are actually doing it and not talking about it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you for that. That's
Professionals, though, professional people.
professionals, professionals. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So just kind of wrapping up now as we're almost there wrapping up. So what are you doing? How can we be a part of it? Is anything, new that you would like to share with everyone, or how can we get also in touch with you on social media?
Sure. Well, look, there's always something new, and I work a little bit differently than most real estate agents. Like, you'll never go to my page and I show you this family and say, they just bought a house because I just like to respect people's privacy. I like for them to put their information out to their circle that they want to have it. But at the same time, I just like to always share information. So as I get information on new projects and new properties becoming available, I like to post that information. Or if I know about a new program coming out or ways that you can save money, and just because you haven't bought a home yet, I always send out information for people who have homes and say, hey, the deadline is coming up for you to file a, tax reduction document. You may be eligible for these things over here. So when
Mm.
I hear about things on the street, I like to share that information. I like to be your real estate resource. So you can either find me on Twitter or Instagram at Ask Cheryl A, and that's AskCheryla, or on Facebook as Cheryl Abrams. I'm always posting information about how you can save money or make money or new opportunities for real estate development.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So any closing remarks, anything else you'd like to say just as we, wrap up here? Anything you'd like
Is
to, for our viewers?
For the most part, I really believe that we hit on a lot. At the end of the day, if you are thinking about getting into real estate for residential or commercial or investing, just make sure you really connect with a professional and actually interview. Like, get 3 agents, right? And interview them just to see which one you can work well with, because sometimes, somebody may have information, but maybe it's just not a personality, it may be a personality conflict. So just make
Mm.
sure we have choices out here. So just make sure that you open yourself up to all the available choices so you have the best person who can work with you and your schedule and the way that you like to do business. Okay. Referrals go a long way. So if you have a friend who had a really great experience buying or selling a house, go to that friend and say, hey, who did you use? At the end of the day, it's just about making sure it's a good fit and that you get to the finish line. Okay.
Yes.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for your great, tips. You've said a lot today and graciously shared, with us. And I
Anytime.
would like to also have you back. Hopefully, you'll be able to Come back next time.
Anytime.
I love the blazer. I'm looking at it. I love, 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 love the color.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for coming on the show. I look forward to, talking to you soon as well. Happy Thanksgiving, happy, Merry Christmas in advance, and of course, same year as well. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Happy holidays to everybody. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Messenger, any platform. I check them
Yeah.
all every day.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you
All
for your
right.
time.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Take care. You too. Bye bye. Awesome, you guys. Oh man, it's been a blessing. It's just amazing having Mrs. Cheryl Abrams Davis on the show today. She's such a blessing. I hope some of the real estate questions that you had about investing was actually answered today. You can also catch up with our previous shows online on YouTube. Get Inspired Series with Joyce. We're also on social media everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Get Inspired Series with Joyce. Again, a special thanks to our very talented guest, Ms. Cheryl Abrams Davis. And thank you, everyone, for watching the show. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Have a good evening. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.